Hello, everyone. Welcome back to 4 p.m. Football Podcast, the number one football podcast in the world. Ernie and I are back with another episode. We've been on this consistently, and now I'm going to hand it over to Ernie to talk about the topics for today.
Yeah, I don't even know how many weeks in a row it is, so that's a good sign. It's a lot of weeks in a row, but we're one week closer to the NFL season. I think we are a month out from the first regular season game, a little almost or something like that, from the Chiefs versus Ravens. So news is starting to pick up, but in the meantime, we have a lot of drama with the Aiyuk situation going on with the Niners. We have a new contract from Tyreek Hill. We have the top 10 players dropping from the top 100. So let's just get straight into it. Let's talk. Aiyuk the situation with Aiyuk today kind of blew up where it all started with a reporter on Twitter. I think he's fairly new. He's not too popular, but he has about 8,000 followers on Twitter. He said that the 49ers and Aiyuk actually agreed, or sorry, the 49ers and the Steelers actually agreed to a trade for to send Aiyuk to Pittsburgh today. But since then, a lot of a lot of people have come out and said that this is actually not the case, and the deal has not actually been agreed to. But it's starting to feel more and more like this will happen. So it's starting to feel like Aiyuk is not going to be a 49er this year, or at least more likely than it was before. What do you think, Hope?
Yeah, I mean, even though I think when we talked about this the first time when we came back for the podcast, I did say I think the situation is so far, like the relationship between the two has kind of been so far, it's so bad right now that I do see Brandon Aiyuk being traded before the start of the season. And I mean, and even when we used to talk about it before, like one of the teams that Aiyuk was possibly going to be traded to was the Steelers. So I don't know if the report is real or not, but I still see Aiyuk being traded before the start of the season. I mean, for the Steelers, I see this as a good trade for them. If it goes down for them, they have George Pickens and Brandon Aiyuk as their receivers, right, to help whether it's Russell Wilson or Justin Fields in there.
Yeah, I agree. So I think for me this whole time, all I've been all that I've been confident about is that I don't think there's any way that they get a deal done before this year starts. I just don't think that they're going to come to a long-term contract extension before this year starts. Whether that be he plays on a fifth-year option or he gets traded somewhere else, um, either either one I think is much more likely than the Niners giving him a 4-year, 3-year, whatever the case may be, deal before the season starts. And it's starting to become tough because there are definitely teams. I think there's solid reporting out that there are teams that are willing to pay Aiyuk the amount of money that he wants, and um, I think there's certain destinations where the Niners might be okay with trading Aiyuk to, but at the same time, they might be places that Aiyuk does not want to go to, such as New England or Cleveland. And yes, Aiyuk did request a trade, but at the same time, he kind of has the a power to veto a trade in a way, even though he doesn't have, like, let's say, a no trade clause, for example. But if a team trades for him, they're going to want him for more than just 1 year. They're going to want to have him for a while because they're giving up assets for him. And if Aiyuk doesn't want to go to a team, he will just play the year out on his fifth-year option and then hit free agency the next year, or get franchise tagged and then hit free agency the year after that. And essentially, that would not be worth it for that team if they gave up assets that are anywhere around the worth of a first-round pick. That would not be worth it at all if they get Aiyuk for just 1 or 2 years. So Aiyuk kind of, in a sense, has, you could almost say, a no trade clause. So he can choose where he wants to go. So not only does it come down to, it's kind of like it's a situation where three parties have to agree to it. The other team has to agree to paying Aiyuk, the Niners have to agree to the compensation, and Aiyuk has to agree to want to go to the team. So all those three things are going to have to align for Aiyuk to be traded, which is why I was more confident that he would just end up playing on his 5th-year option for this year. But I'm starting to see it as almost about 50-50, him playing on his 5th-year option or him getting traded. Regardless, I just don't think that he's going to be getting a long-term extension. I'd put that at about a 1% chance for this year. So as a Niners fan, when I saw the report that he was traded, you don't know how you will feel, I think, until something really happens. And I truly believe that he got traded. And my instant reaction was, damn, this hurts our chances for a Super Bowl this year. Because, I mean, depending on what we get back, but I don't think the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to send back George Pickens. So, I mean, I feel like it's going to be really hard to get a player back in return that's gonna be able to, unless it's Devontae Adams from the Raiders, but that's gonna be able to fill in for Brandon Aiyuk, because that's your X receiver, that's your number one guy. You line up on the ball, tell him to get open, and Ricky Pearsall could become that, but I don't think you want to go into a season as a Super Bowl contender relying on Ricky Pearsall to be your X receiver. So yeah. Anything more you want to add?
No, the Niners losing Aiyuk would definitely be a big hit. He was a solid guy. I think how many yards did he have? 1,300 last year.
1,350 around, and he missed one game.
Yeah, which is solid.
On the 23rd most targets.
Yeah.
6th most yards, 3rd most targets.
Yeah. Anything more?
Nah. Okay. So yeah, I think the news on that will probably find. I mean, we've been saying this for a while, but I think we should probably get that finally settled at least over the next week, because whoever team he's going to go to, whatever the case may be, like, you want him to be there sooner rather than later. So just keep your eyes open for that. That should be breaking. Any day now, to be honest. But let's move on to Tyreek Hill. So Tyreek Hill, the contract that he signed with the Miami Dolphins, the extension, 3 years, $90 million, and it was kind of a situation where it needed to happen. His last contract was a $30 million per year contract, but it kind of wasn't. I think the numbers didn't exactly reflect what it truly was. It was kind of a fake $30 million per year, to where he probably wasn't going to be seeing the money at the end of the contract regardless, which ended up pushing up the annual average to $30 million. But now he signs a $30 million. I mean, he's the best receiver in the league for my money, to be honest, over Justin Jefferson. And he signed a $30 million per year contract for 3 years with $65 million guaranteed, I believe. Or
I think he became one of them. I think he has the most guaranteed money for a wide receiver per year with his contract.
Really?
Yeah.
The most guaranteed money per year?
Yeah.
What does that mean exactly, actually?
Just based off like how much this guaranteed salary will be per year. I think he is getting, I think it was 65 or 75.
No, I think it's 65.
Okay. Yeah, 65 still. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I think this is a good contract for the Dolphins and for Tyreek Hill, right? I definitely think he deserves the money. He's gonna. How long is his extension for?
It's a 3-year extension, so it will be.
So I mean that
2024 to 2026.
Yeah, I mean that's how long I see Tyreek Hill's prime, like, still standing, still lasting, right? I feel like he's maybe going towards the end of his prime, right? He's 30 years old. By the time his contract ends, he's gonna be 33, 34, right?
32.
As like a 32, right? 32.
He'll be playing his age 30 season, age 31, and age 32. Which, I agree. It's like you don't want to go past that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I feel like the Dolphins locking him up for that long, and then reconsidering him after the end of that they put themselves in a really good situation, right? I mean, Tyreek Hill deserves the money. We saw what he did last year, right? Most receiving yards for a wide receiver, right? Just every week it seemed like he was dropping like 200 yards or whatnot, right? And the touchdowns were there. It just they weren't able to win that playoff game at the end of the year, which would have honestly helped everyone's case on the team. But I mean, going back as far as for Tyreek, it's he's only getting for that type of season he had. He's getting paid less than Justin Jefferson and almost the same amount of money as Jalen Waddle. I mean, that's kind of a steal for the Dolphins, if you ask me.
Yeah. Um. Okay. So I'm seeing. I'm not sure what exactly I'm seeing. But I'm seeing another report where it says he has guaranteed money over the next 4 years, which, like you were saying, he has $106 million of guaranteed money over the next 4 years, which is interesting. I'm not exactly sure why there's a difference between that and like the typical numbers that came out, but I think that might be what you're probably referring to, because that would be like $26.5 million guaranteed money, and I think that that would be worth it. So I think this is probably one of those contracts where the annual average is not as high as a guy like Justin Jefferson, because like I don't think there's anyone that watches football that would dispute. I mean, if he's not number one, he's at the worst the second best receiver in the NFL. I don't think there's anyone in football that would argue with that. Um, and so I think this is a contract where he more focused on the guaranteed money, unlike last time when he more focused on the annual average, even though the guaranteed money wasn't exactly all the way there. So I'd say solid contract for both parties, because I mean he just became he just got voted the number one player in the NFL, and the Dolphins definitely need him to go. I mean, before him, Tua was damn near labeled a bust, and the Dolphins were nowhere near playoff contention, and now they're in the thick of things as long as Tua can come through in the later months of the year. But it's a good contract for Tyreek. He's getting a lot of guaranteed money, and good contract for the Dolphins. I think overall it was a win-win, or it was a necessary deal to be done for both parties. And I still don't know if Tua is going to be the answer. I don't know. It's kind of hard to say that it's all going to be worth it when I think of them having Tua at their quarterback position. But I guess if he can take a step forward, or they can somehow find somebody else, the Dolphins keep their best player, and that's always something that you want to do. He's a special player, so yeah. Um, but yeah, so you would say Tyreek is a top five player in the NFL?
Yeah, I mean, it's consistency, right? And the one thing I see with Tyreek is he's very consistent every year.
Yeah.
I mean, every here and there, maybe drops might be an issue, right? But not that big of an issue. He's just like just the speed that he has, just absolutely kills people, right?
Yeah.
And he's like a guy you wouldn't expect to like run great routes or whatnot. Just because like when I consider a speed guy, I'm just like I'm thinking they're gonna burn me like down the field. Tyreek Hill's not that type of guy, right? He'll run that slant route, right? He'll get 15, 20 plus yards just off of a simple slant route. Like he'd probably take it to the house. Like he's
Yeah.
just he's just that type of guy. And like I, I mean, I hate to glaze him, but I mean I'm putting him as one of my best receivers around the league just because of the fact of what he can do for like an organization. We saw him do it with the Chiefs. Now we saw him do it with the Miami Dolphins, right?
Yeah. I mean, I have him number one, to be honest. I think you do too, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So that's always going to be good. Speaking of Tyreek Hill being number one, the top 100 released their top 10 players, and I have to say I think it was very accurate. To be honest, I think they got it all right. I think the players. I mean, the players voted. The players know. The players play other players. So
I feel like the list couldn't have been any worse. It might be one of the worst lists in the last couple of years I've seen. The
no,
fact
yeah,
that the fact that Mahomes was not rated number one makes makes us lose all credibility. Like Mahomes, what he did last year, taking that organization, that team, the team that led the league in drops, right? Some of the worst wide receivers a quarterback could ever have. He took that team to the playoffs. Not only did he take them to the playoffs, he went in the playoffs, right? He beat the Miami Dolphins, a speedy team. He beat he beat the he beat Josh Allen, right? Josh Allen with Stephon Diggs. I mean, one of the best duos that was in the league, right? He goes to the Ravens, right? Everybody wants Mahomes to lose right now, right? He goes there, he plays the MVP, he beats the MVP in Baltimore. He goes to the Super Bowl, he beats the number one team on paper, and he's still not rated number one. That blows my mind. That's crazy.
So why do you think that is though? Because at the end of the day, the players are the ones who vote for it, right? So why do you think they put three guys, all three all three of which are the guys that he beat in the playoffs?
All I have to say,
First he beat Tyreek, then 2 weeks later he beats Lamar. 2 weeks later he beats
McCaffrey.
Christian McCaffrey. So why do you think that is?
Just look at Jamar Chase. That man was
With the
so
least help too.
yeah.
He beat all
Just look at Jamar Chase. He was the most sorry wide receiver I know in the league. He goes out and says he's not gonna say his name because he's still salty. So these players around the league are salty that Mahomes is winning every single year and their team can't do anything against him. So I mean, the fact that you put Lamar Jackson, who I think shouldn't have even won the MVP, and over Patrick Mahomes, are you telling me that you're taking Lamar Jackson, who has 0 Super Bowl wins, over a guy who has 3 Super Bowl wins any day of the week?
Yeah, no.
It's just as simple as that. Like this guy has 3 Super Bowl wins. Um, has done it with probably one of the. I mean, his defense was really good. Don't get me wrong. Maybe one of the worst offenses. You put Lamar Jackson in the offense. Is that offense even going to make it to the playoffs? No, right?
Yeah, sorry. I'm just seeing some breaking news about Aiyuk, so I'm trying to
Oh, okay.
get on the side.
No,
But you
yeah,
keep going.
yeah. I mean, it just blows my mind that he number 4 after doing whatever he did last year is man. What the heck? Like, what more does he have to do? Does he need a three-peat just to win that? Does he need a three-peat to go and get that number 1?
I just don't get it. I don't even think it's. I don't know if it's they're salty though, because like I think if you ask Jamar Chase would say Patrick Mahomes is number one.
I mean, yeah. If you ask Jamar Chase to be serious, I feel like he has to, because I mean, 3 Super Bowls. I mean, I guess the only person he put over him would be Joe Burrow because it's just his quarterback, and there's like a lot of bias in there. But still, the fact that teams thought Lamar Jackson, or players around the league thought Lamar Jackson was better than Mahomes last year.
Yeah, I mean this was voted on after the Super Bowl, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I don't know. I just don't get it at all, to be honest.
And if you ask me, I don't think Lamar played all that great in the playoffs either. Compared to, I think Mahomes had maybe a little bit of bias, but he had almost a flawless.
No, yeah, Mahomes had an amazing playoff run.
Yeah.
I mean that was yeah.
Yeah, like I could understand Tyreek Hill and what's it called, Christian McCaffrey being ranked like 2 and 3, right? They had amazing seasons last year too. Like the stuff that Christian McCaffrey did last year was amazing, right? As both of a running back and coming out of the backfield and catching the ball, and what Tyreek Hill was just able to do as a pure wide receiver. But just putting those guys over the guy that is literally the face of the NFL, has been the face of the NFL for the last couple of years too. Man,
maybe it's because of the regular season.
like is this list based off of the top 100 players? It's based off of the top 100 players in the league, right? Because why else would it be ranked? Because if it was just based off of last season, then why is Aaron Rodgers still on top 100, right?
Yeah.
He played maybe 1 minute. He doesn't even deserve to be in the top 100.
Yeah, I feel like the criteria for this list, I feel like some people probably have different ideas of what this list is. Some people think it's how good you. I mean, me personally, I think the list should be who is the best player. I don't care what you did last year. I don't care what you did the year before. Right now, what is the order for the best players in the NFL?
Yeah, I agree with that.
So I mean, if we're, I think some people might too heavily take into account, oh, how good was their season this past year, and so I think that's where maybe something like that ends up happening. I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, honestly, maybe it is. Some people are a little bit salty too from losing to him, and they're like, oh, he's not even that good, or whatever the case may be. They're like, oh, we beat him during the regular season, but yeah. Um, but I wouldn't even have. I mean, yeah, he's got to be number one. I don't think there's any way that you can have Mahomes not number one. But I mean, what they did this to him a couple years ago, right? Where Lamar was one and Mahomes was four, right? Or
Yeah,
no?
yeah.
Mahomes did the thing where he counted to four
Eh,
against the Ravens.
yep.
So I mean, going into this year, I mean, oh my God, I'm like as a 49ers fan, like I want to win the Super Bowl this year, and somehow this league keeps finding a way to give things that Mahomes is gonna take and use as motivation to play this year. I can literally already see it. Mahomes wins the Super Bowl and says and tweets out the next day, "You thought I was number four?" Or Mahomes wins the Super Bowl and counts to four after he wins the Super Bowl. Counts to four for the top 100, or because he's trying to count to how many rings he's gonna have next year. So, or sorry, counts to four because he's gonna have four rings.
Oh
So
my God.
man, I can already see it. I think, oh my God, I'm actually genuinely upset though. Like they really gave him another huge piece of motivation. Like like that actually makes me upset. The players are really stupid for that, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, even if you compare the seasons, I don't think Lamar had that much of a better season than Patrick Mahomes. I know he ended up winning the Super Bowl, but I mean, if you look at it, they both had 27 touchdowns. I mean, Mahomes might have had a few more picks than him, but at the end of the day, it's just uh, like when I looked at the Ravens, right? I just looked at them for their defense. I feel like their defense was what kept them all the way into the conference championship game. But I don't know. Just Lamar being top four is crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's no question. I would say there's no question that Lamar had the better regular season, but I would also say there's no question that Mahomes is the best player in the NFL. I mean, Mahomes might be the best player of all time. So yeah, I really don't understand that one at all. I mean, I think these lists are oftentimes kind of messed up either. I mean, Brady was ranked the number one player like 3 years ago when I mean he was like probably the 12th best quarterback in the NFL. Like so, I mean, it is what it is. But yeah,
Yeah.
but so
I mean,
going back,
I
yeah,
mean, do you also like that Tyreek was rated over McCaffrey? Like when you look at that too.
I have no problem. I have no
Mm,
problem with that. I can see it. Um, I'd probably put him over McCaffrey too, to be honest. If I'm
okay.
being honest. So, I mean, I think I would put Tyreek number two. I'd probably put him at number two. So, so yeah, I think that's solid. I mean, Tyreek is probably the single best weapon in the NFL right now, in general. I'd
Hmm.
say. I mean, that speed that he has is literally just it's just different. It's just game changing. It's just something that just gives you borderline an unfair advantage. Um, so yeah, that's totally fine by me.
Okay.
But going back to, or do you want to keep talking about this list or no?
No, I feel like I've gotten all of whatever I wanted to get out for this list being totally stupid.
Yeah, even the later part of the top 100, I thought, or I guess I mean it's not too bad. I mean
I think
Max Crosby at 10. I felt like that was a little high.
I agree with that too.
TJ Watt at 8. I feel like that was a little high too. But I guess the rest is solid. I mean, Trent Williams at 7, honestly, probably a little high too. If I'm being honest, like
Yeah, this is like this doesn't make sense. It's like you said, like are they like trying to get like who the top 100 is based off of their ever since they've been in the league, or like top 100 based off of last year? Yeah,
yeah,
I don't get it.
yeah. Um, yeah. I mean, they had. I mean, when you have a list where Tua is ranked higher than Devonte Adams, it's just like, what are we doing? Like,
Tua higher than Burrow too. Oh my god.
yeah, Tua higher than Burrow, Tua higher than Devonte Adams. It's like you just can't take the rest of the list seriously. Like when you
Mhm.
have a list where Lamar Jackson is ranked higher than Brock Purdy, I just don't know what to say. Like it just, I don't know, man. It just puzzles me, bro. But let's okay. So what I was looking at with Aiyuk, I seen a report from NBC Sports, and it said by Matt Mayoko, who is the most senior beat writer for the 49ers. He's a very well respected beat writer, and typically he's very connected with the team, and he's not gonna just say he won't just say anything. Like if he's saying it, it's probably very accurate. And he says, according to a source, the 49ers have an trade framework for Aiyuk with the Browns and the Patriots. And now it just comes down to whether Aiyuk would want to accept those those teams to be his next team with the Browns and the Patriots. And it also mentions that the Commanders are out of trade talks, I believe, because I think either the money or the compensation, I don't remember exactly which one it was. Okay, they're no longer an option because they declined to meet the 49ers trade demands. So they don't want to give up the compensation. And then similarly with the Steelers, I think they are also, according to this article, it says the Steelers are out of the trade conversations with Aiyuk as well. It says the Steelers are effectively no longer an option after they declined as okay. So yeah, I mean, this article was posted 15 minutes ago. So I don't know, all those reports that he's going to be a Steeler. I mean, it's just a lot of conflicting reports right now. But at the same time, if a guy like Matt Mayoko is saying it, I trust it a little bit more. And when Ayuk went on the Pivot podcast and whatnot, he said that he was totally fine with taking a risk and going to a new team. He took a risk to get here, but at the end of the day, like going to the Patriots is not taking a risk. Going to the Patriots it is
Years of misery.
it is a guarantee. It is a guarantee because I mean they might be the worst team in the league, and the Browns, they're not too bad. To be honest, I don't think the Browns are that bad, but I don't know, Deshaun Watson, who knows what's up with that situation. And at the end of the day, it's Cleveland, like it's the Browns. Like I don't know. This more and more makes me think that he's just gonna have to end up playing on his 5th-year option, or to be honest, maybe this more and more makes me think a little more that he could just take whatever the Niners give him. I think the Niners know that Ayuk wants to play for the 49ers, and they have that leverage over him a little bit. And so they can get away with paying him probably a little bit less. Just like, by the way, I just kind of want to touch on and say this right now. I think a similar situation is happening in Dallas with Dak, where he might get more money on the open market, but for a little bit less, he can still play for the Cowboys and be America's team and represent the Dallas Cowboys, which are a very storied organization. So, I think a similar thing is happening with him. Where, what do you want to take? Do you want to take 3 million more and play for, say, the Tampa Bay Bucks, or the who else? The Raiders? Or do you want to play for the Dallas Cowboys, America's team, be in the spotlight, get brand deals, things of that nature? And but yes, I think similar thing with Ayuk. I think he's gonna have to decide whether he wants to play for the Patriots and win nothing, and make $30 million a year or $31 million a year, or make 27 with the Niners and possibly win a Super Bowl this year. Because you heard Aiyuk at the end of the year, and he said his ultimate goal is to win a Super Bowl. That's what he wants to do, and he seems like he really does care about that. And so, and it's worth noting his mom was a huge 49ers fan since he was young. So
Mm-hmm.
we'll see. What do you think about that report?
So like him going to either the Patriots, if he gets traded, him either going to the Patriots or the Browns. I mean,
Yeah.
if
So what it says though is that it according to this report, it says that the Commanders and the Steelers kind of don't seem to be an option. And then with the Browns and the Patriots, there is a trade. There's a framework for a trade in place with both of those teams, but now it just comes down to whether Aiyuk wants to accept.
yeah, so that's what I was getting into. Like if I'm Aiyuk, I'm not like if I have to go to those teams, I'm not leaving the 49ers, right?
Yeah.
I just the New England Patriots are kind of in a rebuild mode, right? I just wouldn't want to go there. Like the thing with the Browns and the Patriots is they sort of don't know who their quarterback going into the future is going to be, right? Whether it's Drake May or Deshaun Watson for the Browns, right? Um, and so like the Niners have that, right? They know Purdy's going to be their guy, and Purdy has that connection with Aiyuk so far. I just like the thing is Aiyuk also wants more targets, right? Wasn't that another concern of his like this past year too? Targets, right?
I think somewhat. I think he's fine with not having as many targets as long as they're winning. Like I'd say, I think he was upset that he didn't get targets in the Super Bowl where they ended up losing, and he could have helped them out.
Yeah. Because like if I see him going to the Browns, right? They have Jerry Judy there. I mean, not the best guy, right? But he's definitely gonna want the ball in his hands, right? He got paid like a guy that's gonna need the ball in his hand. I mean, they have Amari Cooper there still, who's
Yeah,
probably
let me stop you real quick right there. I think if he goes to the Browns, from what I hear, I'm not exactly sure, but I think there's a good chance that they might get Amari back.
okay.
But yeah, continue.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. So going there, he it just depends on if he will still get the ball. I just don't know how much more he'd get the ball, especially because like when you go into teams like those where like you don't know how good the quarterback really is gonna be, you just never know if you're actually gonna get the ball in here. Because those type of quarterbacks, they just have so there's like games where they just have difficulty just throwing it to anybody on the field, right?
Mhm.
Whether it's their wide receiver, star wide receiver one, or like their wide receiver three, they're just struggling to get the ball to anybody's hands,
Yeah.
and like if that's why I think if it's in Aiyuk's hands right now, like you said, like I feel like you nailed it. Like if I make less money, I could care less, right? I'm gonna be on a team who's still gonna possibly make it into the Super Bowl, right? I have the Niners as a team that can make you far into the playoffs, maybe another Super Bowl appearance, and like Aiyuk probably knows himself that like, he will be a big part of that organization if they do make it into the playoffs.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's at the end of the day, it just comes to if Aiyuk is doing this for the money or if he's doing it for like the Super Bowls, right?
Yeah. At the end of the day, like in terms of being well off, 27 versus 31 is nothing. I mean, regardless, you're rich as shit.
Mm-hmm.
I think I guess it comes down to him for like being respected. I think that's probably what it comes down to him. I mean, he had that whole situation where he was in the doghouse with Shanahan and he didn't get a lot of targets. And then even the next year after that, he's still like the fourth option. And then finally he breaks out this past year. And it kind of feels like he's the only one on the offense too that isn't in the national media spotlight. Like Kittle is, Debo is, McCaffrey is, Juszczyk is, Purdy is, whether it be for good or bad reason. Trent is. Everyone on the offense is in the national media spotlight, yet he led their team in receiving yards. Yet, if you ask any 49ers fan who's the number one wide receiver on the 49ers, it is Brandon Aiyuk. So I think it also comes down to wanting to be appreciated. And so that's where it kind of gets hard because, you know, there's only so much money the Niners were willing to give him. But, I mean, $27 million, I mean, you're appreciated, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of which, though, you saw DJ Moore get a contract extension?
Yeah, I saw that.
So
I
he got,
forgot the
yeah,
numbers on that.
I think he got 27.5
Okay,
per year.
that's good for him. That's really good.
Yeah. So do you think Aiyuk should get more than that or no? You think Aiyuk is better than DJ Moore?
I think DJ Moore is a solid player. Just
Yeah.
hasn't really been put in like good situations, right? I see.
Real bad.
Yeah, like I just because of the fact that I've seen Aiyuk do really good with the Niners, I do see him getting paid a little bit more than him, like 28, 29. If DJ Moore's getting that type of money, but like
Mhm.
I wouldn't say like if he gets 27, then Aiyuk deserves 31. Like I feel like that's a pretty bad comparison.
Yeah, that's fair. So real quick then, what do you think? What do you think he should get? Just for context, DJ Moore got 27.5. I think Jalen Waddle got about 28.
28 and a half.
Around there. Amon-Ra got 30.
Major Brown got 32, I think.
Yeah, AJ Brown got 32 and Jets got 35.
Uh-huh. Yeah. I mean,
Which one would you put him in between?
just because the fact that Tyreek just got 30 recently too.
Yeah, honestly, I thought that was a good thing for the Niners.
Yeah, so like I don't see him, like I could see him getting 28 and a half, 29, right? Just
Mhm.
I think you touched on this on a podcast before too, like that Jalen Waddle type of money. And I think he deserves that type of money too. So
Yeah,
I think and that's really good money for wide receiver in the National Football League right now.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. That's fair. Well, regardless, all I want is for Aiyuk to be playing for the Niners this upcoming year, whether he gets an extension or fifth-year option. I just want Aiyuk to be playing for the 49ers this year because I think they have a good chance to make the Super Bowl. I think the team can be better than last year. So, you know,
Also, wait,
yeah.
why wouldn't Aiyuk want to play out another year and show that he's one of the top guys around the league, and then after that get paid more money than a guy like Tyreek Hill or like Amon-Ra St. Brown, right? This guy's getting above 30 or above right now.
Yeah, I was thinking that. I guess he's at a point where once you get to a point you don't want to jeopardize what you have. Like he knows based on what he's done last year, he's worth, let's say, some X amount. If he plays another year, he can go up, but there's also a possibility of going down. And I think typically players don't want to risk that. They just want to strike when your value is very high.
Mm-hmm.
But I agree. I mean, if he plays out next year and he has confidence in himself, he plays out next year, he puts up 1,400, 1,500 yards.
Yeah, I mean, he's also in a situation where he could do something like that easily.
And if anything, I mean, Purdy and him have one more year of a connection. I think it feels like the Niners are moving more to a more pass-heavy offense. Granted, they were already the least pass-heavy offense in the NFL, but they could be more pass-heavy. Purdy's going to be a little bit better. The other players around him are getting a little bit older. Aiyuk is moving more towards his prime. I mean, as long as he doesn't get hurt, I don't see how he doesn't get more money playing next year. So I agree. Honestly, I think that that's a very viable thing to do. I guess he just doesn't want to risk an injury or something along those lines.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I mean, Nick Bosa did a similar thing where, I mean, he didn't get paid after his third year, but he got paid after his fourth year with the Niners. I think that's what Micah might be doing too. So I don't know. I agree. Maybe he should do that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we'll see what happens with that situation. Is there any more topics you want to talk about?
No, I feel like that was a really good talk for today. Just being able to talk about two receivers, right? Aiyuk, Tyreek, and being able to get out my frustration for the top 100 list.
Yeah.
And
sorry.
No, go ahead.
Hopefully more interesting stuff. I think preseason is going to finally start for every team over the next 5 days. So by the time next Monday rolls around, I think all of the first preseason games will be done. I don't know if we'll get too much out of it. I think we'll learn stuff about the rookies rather than the vets, because the vets probably won't be playing. It'll be more of the rookies. So we'll hear about that a little bit, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, with that, I think we're gonna head out. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Make sure to hit that subscribe button, like the video. let other people know about the podcast too. And with that, we're out. Peace.